at any time. But the time of death is when we actually create our new body, or let us say our new body is assigned to us by the authorities in charge of such things. So, by being in spiritual consciousness at the time of death, then we guarantee our transfer to a spiritual body. It's that simple. The difficulty is, what we will be thinking at the time of death is like a recap of our entire life. Instant replay of the whole experience of this lifetime. It's as if all of the data that we have stored up in our minds about how we lived our life, what we did, what we thought, our anticipation of what is in the future, our impressions, our thoughts, our intentions, everything is wound up into a compressed format. It goes by really fast. One time I had a near-death experience, and I actually saw my whole life in front of my eyes. It's hard to explain, but I saw it as one thing. Anyway, the whole life is there before us, and the quality of the consciousness of our life is what determines where we go in the next life. That is the secret of death. And that is why yogis are not only not afraid of death, but they actually anticipate death. It's a goal that they work towards. It's something that they prepare for their entire lives. It's best if one begins in the early part of life, in one's 20s at latest. But at any time, one can begin to accumulate pious credits, thoughts of the spiritual and transcendental worlds, the hearing of the sound of the holy name of God, Krishna, Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This mantra, repeated over and over again, creates impressions in the mind of the spiritual world. Those impressions, at the time of death, will recall the transcendental existence, and therefore we will go there. That's really the whole purpose of yogic exercises, of different types of meditation, and especially of bhakti. We have to accept the fact that we are eternal. Therefore, there is something after death. It's not a blank wall. There's something beyond it. It's just another step of the inevitable transformation of life according to time. In this material world, time is supreme, and therefore everything changes, especially the body. Just like this body that we have now is different from the body we had when we were a child. Look at it. It looks completely different. It works completely different. It has a whole different feel, a whole different style to it. Yet we are the same person. So we've already changed this body so many times in this life. And we'll change it probably a bunch more times, about every 7 years, according to scientists. Every cell in the body dies and is replaced. Every molecule, every little bit of substance in our body is flushed away and replaced by new. So this body is different from the body we had 7 years ago. Nevertheless, the personality within the body, the consciousness within the body stays the same, because consciousness is eternal. So therefore, God is perceived as death, and he's also perceived as the source of everything. God is, in one sense, everything that is ultimate, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, death and rebirth. God is all these things, and yet he is more. He is a person who loves us, a person who created all of us and wants us to be happy. So he offers us an exit from this material world. He says, just think of me. because you're going to die. For one who has taken this birth, death is certain. So don't lament. Use the time to prepare yourself for death, because death is coming. There's no doubt about that. Don't believe these transhumanists who say they're going to find the key to immortality next week sometime. They've been saying that for hundreds of years. Ever read any of the old alchemical works? So, death is coming. It's unavoidable. Even if you have some medical miracle and you're able to postpone it a little while, it's still coming. I had one friend, a very good friend, who beat cancer not once, but 3 times. But it finally caught up with him, metastasized all over his body, and there wasn't anything they could do about it. So he had to leave this body. He left it thinking and hearing about Krishna. So his life was successful. We all have to die. The only question is, how? So death is a completely subjective experience. It's a transformation, again, of consciousness. We get to the point where we just can't maintain this body anymore. It's like an old car. At some point, it costs more to fix it than it's worth. So we have to let it go. Animals let it go with a minimum of struggle. We've seen it. They're very natural about it. And they just curl up and slowly disappear. So it seems to us that death is a final thing, but actually it's not. Death is the end of this body, yes. But are we this body? No. We're the consciousness within. Therefore, the esoteric teaching gives us tools that allow us to have at least some influence over our death. The thing is, we have to start using those tools now, because this lifetime is full of so many impressions, and most of them are coming from the senses, some also from the mind, of course. But the majority of the impressions in this life, unexamined or untransformed, are going to lead us right back into another body. Because at the time of death, if most of our impressions are of bodily existence, then bodily existence is right where we're going. But if most of our impressions are of spiritual existence, then we attain the spiritual world. And that in itself is a huge subject, because in the spiritual world there are many, many different destinations. So which destination would we like to attain in the spiritual world? Well, that's a very big question. That's just saying like, let's go to the airport and fly somewhere. Well, where are we going to go? There's so many places you can go. Similarly, there are thousands of different destinations in the spiritual world, and we can actually pick which one we want. But we have to do something now. We have to do something starting right away, because death is coming. Life is short, and there isn't much time. Every moment counts. So our appeal is that you begin to chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And at the time of death, whenever that happens, you can transfer yourself to the spiritual world and take back your perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.